All right, now it's time for the VHS and memory special on the podcast. The Terminator, 1984 fantasy sci-fi film. I love the first Terminator. I'll give you a little bit of the synopsis from Google. Just easy that way to formulate what the movie's about, then I'll get into the discussion. So, disguised as a human, a cyborg assassin known as a Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger travels back from 2029 to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton. Sent to protect Sarah is Kyle Reese, Michael Biehn, who divulges the coming of Skynet, an artificial intelligence system that will spark a nuclear holocaust. Sarah is a target because Skynet knows that her unborn son will lead the first fight against them. The virtually unstoppable Terminator in hot pursuit, she and Kyle attempt to escape. So yeah, that movie came out 2 years before I was born, 1984, The Terminator. I love this first Terminator. I love the second Terminator. I just watched the second Terminator with my sister a little while ago. And it's a great movie. It's a great second movie. It's a great blockbuster movie, with all the action. With, some of the new 3D, or some of the new computer graphics in the movie used for the T-1000, the Liquid Terminator. It's cool how they sent a Terminator back that was good to protect Kyle. And yeah, it's a really interesting movie. The second movie, it's just like full of so much action, so much explosions, so many guns, so many weapons. It's like over the top. It's like, more an action movie first and foremost, and it's more of like the kid and the Terminator. Like the Terminator kind of turns out like his dad or whatever, right? So it's, the kid thinks the Terminator is kind of like a father figure because it's trying to protect him, and he's never had a stable, cool father figure in his life, and the Terminator is cool. But yeah, that's Terminator 2. It's a blast. It's, of course, this is all filmed by James Cameron, the Titanic master, the Avatarian descent. But yeah, James Cameron is a huge producer, director, He's, I wasn't the biggest fan of Avatar. I thought, like, when I saw it in the theater, it amazed me how it looked, but I just found the story wasn't deep enough for me. But who knows, with the 19 Avatar movies coming out, maybe we'll get into it. But yeah, Terminator 1, let's get into it. Kyle Reese style, baby. It's really interesting in this movie when they send the Terminator back, he arrives in town and electricity shooting everywhere, and he's using a time machine, obviously, and he's sent through time, and yeah, he's naked because, you can't really send mechanical things back. The Terminator can come back because he's mechanical on the inside and he has the skin around him, right? So they can send him back. But yeah, the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you see him just appear there with the electricity, and he's naked, and he sees these punks at the beginning, and they have a telescope. It's like, damn, today's kids playing with telescopes and science. But the Terminator rolls up on these guys, and they're like, they freaked me out as a kid. They did look like real punks, but now they just look like some goth out guys or heavy metal guys or whatever, and they have a telescope. It's like, I know they're probably spying on people or something, but still, it's funny. And the Terminator rolls up on them. They're like, they can't believe he's naked. They're like, wash day, nothing clean. And the Terminator just repeats, wash day, nothing clean, or whatever. He just he just tells them, I think, give me your clothes. I think they just pull out knives, and he just shoves his hand right through the guy, killing him. And it's just like the Terminator takes these punk guys' clothes. He's in these punk guys' clothes for the rest of the movie. And it's just a crazy movie. I love it so much. The action scenes, Arnold does a great job in this. He always has. And it's a huge movie. Terminator, he got so famous from this movie. And yeah, it's just so many cool action scenes, at the beginning when he's hunting her down, trying to find her. He's killing other Sarah Connors, looking through the phone book to kill every Sarah Connor he can to annihilate them all. And yeah, he's just kind of, they think it's like just a murder, like a serial book, serial book killer. And, they're like joking about it. But, it's just crazy. Like, no one believes when they send Kyle back, and Kyle has to track down Sarah. And he's telling her all this stuff about like how the Terminator sent from the future. She doesn't know if he's crazy or what to believe, and they ended up, Terminator's chasing them at one point, and they end up after the club scene. They end up hiding in a car, and the police all catch them at the end and see the Terminator, but he gets away. Car blows up. They can't find him. They're like, what? And then they take Reese, put him under like arrest basically, and they're interrogating him. And the one doctor's telling Sarah that he's just all crazy. He's full of it. Like this is all a lie. And he's like, one of the other cops, sergeants, I think, he gives her a blanket, puts her on a little couch, and tells her to rest. And they're not on guard or anything. They think Reese is a maniac. They think Reese is a schizo. And this is also a heavy romance movie. That's what I like about it. That's what I'm saying about number 2. Like, number 2 is a great movie, but this movie at the end of the day just holds out as a better movie. It's stronger. It's like a real movie. There's such romance. I remember as a kid, like, I liked the romance in this movie. It was one of the movies I was like, I like that romance. Even though, like, I didn't think Reese is a cool guy. I'm not into Reese or Sarah or anything, but I like just the character dynamic of their romance was really cute. And yeah, he loves her right away, basically. And she thinks he's crazy, but I bet she thinks he's pretty hot. But they're in the police station, and let me get back to that. And they're in the police station, and they're not on guard. And then, yeah, the Terminator rolls up, with all his weapons that he went to a weapon store, or whatever they're called, and picked up some weapons earlier and killed the guy there and headed out to kill Sarah Connor. But yeah, he rolls up with like a shotgun, a couple of machine guns, I think, or whatever, and he's just blowing away people at the police station. He rolls up. Well, first he just rolls up casually, and he delivers that line that's so classic, because he asks to see Sarah, and they're like, no, you're not allowed to. She's in an investigation. He's like, I'll be back, right? The classic, I'll be back. And then he drives a car right into the front of the police station, kills that guy. And then, yeah, he's just a rampage. Like, cops are firing at him, shooting him in his back. He's eating bullets, but he's just spraying on these people or whatever, just like... And they can't believe it. I remember the sergeant goes and tells Sarah to hide somewhere. And, of course, like, Reese gets out. He knocks someone out and grabs the key. And it's just, like, a mad shooting in this place. I love the action in this movie. This action is raw. This action is real. This action is impactful. This action, they don't even make action movies like this anymore. I remember loving this as a kid. I remember screaming and imitating. And, oh, my God, I just loved it. I thought it was the dopest thing ever. I was like, yes. I love guns. I love shooting. I love robots. I love time travel. Terminators. Yeah, he's just massacring everyone in that station. And of course, Reese, he tracks down Sarah, finds Sarah, and they do escape or whatever. And, they get out on the road in a car, they escape or whatever, and they drive till the car runs out of gas. And the Terminator, like, he almost catches them, shooting at them as they drive away type of thing. But, he just wasn't quick enough, couldn't find them in time. But it's cool. Now they're back together, and they end up some grungy hotel, and Reese teaches her to make like some type of explosion, like TNT type things, or whatever he calls them. I can't remember right now. But yeah, he makes like basically little bombs for her, sticks of dynamite type of stuff, and yeah, he shows her how to do that. He's wounded, she cleans him up. That's kind of romantic. They talk about like, what's the world like, or what's my son like, and they kind of start falling for each other a little more. And before that, their car runs out of gas, I forgot, and they do all that under a bridge, and then they go to the hotel or whatever, and he makes those bombs with her. And then Terminator tracks down her mom and kills her mom, and then Terminator can use his voice to sound like a woman. Lucky Terminator. But no, Terminator can change his voice to sound like anyone, because he's just a cyborg robot. Who knows not? But yeah, so he calls up Sarah, and he's like, where are you, honey? She's like, yeah, I'm here. I think he finds out what hotel she's at or whatever, because she talks to her mom. She thinks it's her mom, but her mom's dead. Terminator destroyed her, and just using her phone and her voice. But yeah, so then the Terminator knows where they're at, and he starts making his way at them, and they ended up seeing him before he gets there, and they sneak out the back. And then there's a huge chase scene. They're in a car, and then Terminator gets on a motorbike, and they're shooting at him, throwing those explosives at him. This is where the movie really picks up. I love the beginning when the Terminator's like looking for her, and she's at the club. She doesn't meet Reese yet. That part's really good. And yeah, I really like that part. And then the part when they're investigating the police station, pretty good. And then of course the battle scene at the police station is fantastic. But this ending too, like this chase sequence, like just how they filmed it, is how practical all these effects are and everything is awesome. Like they're just like ripping down the road. Like I remember just loving this and thinking like, oh man, there's so many good more movies will come out in Terminator. But I only like the first 2 Terminators. 3, no, none of the others. I mean, the one with Batman, Christian Bale, was pretty good, but no, it wasn't pretty good. It was, I just like the robots in it when you can see them, but there's parts of it that are okay, but nothing compared to these first 2 movies. These first 2 movies are just a work of art, and they're both spectacular in different ways, but so spectacular in both of those ways. Like the first Terminator is such a grounded movie, even though it deals with like time travel and stuff. It's just, yeah, and how gory it was, and like how much blood and shooting it was, and how much swearing and stuff. Like you loved it as a kid. This is like the type of movie you wanted to watch as a kid. And it would get you hyped and on playing and hyped on imagination, because you thought about like time travel and robots and opened your mind to all this stuff. So that was pretty cool as well. And it was for one of the first more serious movies I've ever seen that dealt with these topics. But yeah, they're on the chase scene, and they're like a truck of some sort, I think, and they're just trying to get away. He's on a motorbike. I remember he like ends up crashing or something, and Terminator gets into a semi, just like in Terminator 2 when the T-1000 gets in a semi and he's chasing him. But in this one, yeah, he gets in the semi, he's chasing them down. And yeah, it's like a tanker with oil, I think, or something. And they're chasing him down, and it's pretty intense, the chase down. This is a great chase scene. And then of course they all crash and the thing blows up. And they actually think the Terminator is dead. Reese is injured. I think he got shot. So he's a little injured for sure, and she's trying to get him out of the truck like before the car blows up. They crash or something. Their truck is flipped, and she gets out, and she's trying to get Reese out. And then that tanker thing blowing up the Terminator, and they kind of get away. And there's kind of happy music for a moment. You think that it's all over, or maybe the Terminator's actually dead, like for real, like, because how could he live through that? It shows him burning, like it shows the Terminator's skin burning up, and he's in the fire, and like it looks like he's just melting, because that's just all the cyborg skin that he has. He just totally looks like he's melting. So yeah, then you think that they're like holding each other. I think they're kissing, like, yeah, it's over, maybe, like we would have won, like who could survive that? And then this is the part of the movie that, like, I thought the movie was pretty good as a kid. Like I was saying, I loved it. I thought the action was great. I thought the chase sequence were great. I liked the romance even. I was like, okay, this movie is pretty darn good. Like, I'm really enjoying this. And then the moment that this happens, this is one of the best moments in cinematic history. Like, for me, like, there's so many more moments, but this was so much, like, this one part, like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, you just see the garbage moving, or like everything's on fire, and you just see like the pieces of the broken truck everywhere, and you just see this pile of junk and metal, and then you see it move slightly, and then a full skeleton of the Terminator comes out. It's full robot mode. Like, these guys look like skeletons, like people, but they're just armored out. Yeah, the original Terminator, they're just like a skeleton, so roboed out and armored up, and they're just so cool. He starts pushing out of the garbage, and it's just like, you just see him, and he's like moving, and his eyes are red, and he's just like, how he moves is so cool and fluent. And yeah, however they did this stop motion animation type stuff is one of the best. I remember freaking out. I remember like loving this Terminator. I'm still in love with this Terminator. I think the Terminator definitely was the hottest character in the whole movie. Like the robot. I would have married that robot. But so the robot, like, they start running, and now, like, I think from the truck or something, the Terminator actually like broke part of his leg, and you can see that its left leg or something is dragging, so it kind of is walking with a limp, which even makes it creepier. And they're like running into this building, and it's chasing them down this hallway with this limp, and it's just so cool seeing this robot. Like, this robot it's so good, this robot. Like, I can't tell you how good this robot is. I can't, like, explain it. It's just, like, especially seeing it at that young age, like, I didn't know how they did it. And it looks so real, because it's not, like, computer graphics or anything. It's, like, miniatures or whatever. And this robot, and probably, like, robotics, like, on set and stop animation or whatever they did. But this robot is... and then like they shut this door on the robot and start smashing its head through in its arm, and it's, you know, it's banging its head against this like metal, and it's, you know, they're trying to get away, and Reese is like, they're in this kind of like industrial setting with like lots of like, you know, robots that look like they make cars and stuff. You know, it's like a factory, and Reese starts turning on all the switches trying to confuse the Terminator as it comes in. But yeah, the Terminator smashes through that door, and it's just like, yeah, they have to run away from it, and it's like limping after them, and it's just a great chase scene, and the robot looks so good. And you know, Reese uses one of those bombs, like he tells her to run and she runs, and he kind of has a standoff with the robot, hitting it in the head a few times with like a metal pole, and which is pretty awesome. You see its like neck bend all the way, but it's just taking it. It just takes like this metal shots to the face like nothing, and you're just loving this robot's reaction. And then you know, the robot has like hips, like, you know, like where its hips are has like holes in them, and he places, like, as the robot backhands him, it just smacks him. It just doesn't even punch him or anything. It just backhands this guy like nothing, and it's like probably like broke every bone in this guy's face, you know, because these robots are so strong, and it's a swipe. It's not like just a little slap. It's like the backhand of your life, you know. So he backhands backhands Reese. Reese falls down a flight of steps, already shot, already injured, and you know, then the bomb goes off, and the robot looks at it and tries to grab it or whatever, but it's too slow, the robot, and it blows up. Awesome scene, and just like, yeah, now like it blows up, and like I think she runs up to Reese to check on him. But now I think he's basically just dead after this. She turns him over, and his face is all bloody. Like, he probably got his brain rattled by that slap. So he's dead, and she's not even sure if the robot's dead. But you know, she's distracted by how much, you know, Reese is dead. And yeah, when they're in that cabin, did I not mention that? Oops. But yeah, when they're in that cabin, they actually did hook up. You know, they had sex. Kyle Reese is the father of Sarah's kid, and yeah, as a kid it was pretty hot between them, you know. You liked it, you're like, oh wow, this is romantic. But yeah, she's like really hurt. She's like, oh, Reese. And then like the Terminator, like, it's blown up. It doesn't have its legs, it doesn't have one arm, and it's like crawling at her with one arm, and she's like, so it's freaking out. So it's, I think there's like in a closed area type thing, so she starts like, you know, kind of scurrying away, and she gets on like this conveyor belt, and she like, you know, ends up crawling through this part that's like a compressor or whatever to flatten things. And so she like crawls onto that. Just as the Terminator's crawling after her, it's like inches away from, like, it's probably just trying to strangle her or something. I think it is, and it's trying to like just grab her with the one hand it has, but it's right in the middle of the compressor, and it's like grabbing for her face, and she's just luckily to have the buttons near her, and she squishes that guy. Like, she just presses it, the conveyor belt comes down, and she just squishes that Terminator till he's flatter than the pancakes you had for breakfast, boy. But yeah, she flattens the Terminator. He's terminated. She says, terminated, mother effer, or whatever, right? But so he's totally terminated. The red light in its eyes fade away, and the Terminator's dead. Oops, hold on. Call. So yeah, now the Terminator is totally terminated. But this movie, it's just, you know, that whole scene, like, I would watch the movie at points just for that scene, just for that ending, because, like, the build-up and the payoff and everything for that ending of that movie is so good. Like, it's fantastic. That animation, how they did that robot, like, because in the second one, you only see those full skeleton robots at the beginning of the movie when they show the future, or, you know, so you get to see some of those robots for a quick second, but you only see that T-1000, who's mostly a liquid guy who looks kind of like a 90s mannequin or whatever, but napkins with mannequins. but yeah, so it's just, you know, that whole ending is so over the top, so cool. This movie gets me so hyped, you know. One of the best time travel movies, one of the best like cyborg robot movies, one of the best action movies from the 80s probably. in some ways like realistic and blood, and I don't know, there's just so many good parts to this movie. And Arnold did a fantastic job, and yeah, one of my childhood favorite movies of all time, The Terminator. Can't get enough. I just watched number 2 with my sister. We'll watch these again someday. But yeah, I don't know what else to say right now about it, but I hope I expressed my feelings enough for each part and everything I love about it. The action, the hardcoreness, the babiness of the 80s. Miss the hardcore days when people could take a joke, people could take a killing, and all that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this VHS and memories, and we'll move on to the next thing.